Hello. And today we were playing NeveN. We're going to start chapter 6 for Maelbjorn. In the morning, I have all the time I needed to make myself look good. And I better go all in, considering I'm supposed to meet both a rabbit poodle and a Prince Charming in the same day. However, before I can even start brushing my fur, someone knocks on my door. Oh, the price of fame, I suppose. Coming. As I open the door, I find myself face to face with a cat who smiles at me with that endearing little look that's so charismatic of him. A cat, I'm glad to see you. There's a slight unease in the falcon's voice as he responds while I let him in. Me too. I hope I'm not bothering you. Not at all. For once I got up early, so I have time on my hands. What brings you here exactly? While talking with a cat, I sit down on the bed and tap beside me to invite him to do the same. However, I can see that he hesitates to do so. Everything alright? Oh yes, it's just that. Suddenly the musician throws a facade and worry is now evident on his face. I see you less and less. I'd like to know if everything's alright with you. It's kind of you to worry. I can't, but I'm okay. It's just a bit busier than usual. And I potentially have deadly killers on my tail, but he doesn't need to know that. And anyway, I'm not allowed to tell him. Alright, I'm here if you need to talk about anything. I assure you, everything's fine. We'll resume our rehearsals very soon, I'm sure of it. I'm just serving as a messenger here and there to help Maelbjorn, that's all. For a moment the falcon squints before displaying an amused expression as he sits beside me. Maelbjorn, huh? You don't even call him Prince anymore? Fuck. It's alright, You're a grown-up. Still have the right to see who you want. But be careful, please. Others won't see it that way. I can attest to that, believe me. Oh, you, sir, have something way on your heart. If you need support, I'm here for you too. No, it's just that I've been in love with someone who wasn't of my status. I know how it feels, and I want it to end differently for you. I don't think Maelbjorn is so different from me, if that reassures you. I'm sure he's very kind to you, but I don't think the problem lies with him. Expect to attract jealousy simply because the prince lends you his ear when others don't. Was that the case for your couple? Not really. The situation was reversed. He was a slave. I can't help but widen my eyes as I listen to the falcon. It's easy to imagine that this story must have been quite scandalous for the Bacadian elite. I suppose someone noticed. Well, that's largely the reason for my presence here, yes, but it doesn't matter anymore. Sorry, Cat-Eye. Don't worry about me. You've already done more than you needed to by saving me out there. I just want you to be careful, okay? I want everything to go well with your prince. To reassure the falcon, I'll smile at him while grabbing his talon and squeezing it between my fingers. Again, you don't have to worry. I'll fight if I have to. You know how fierce I can get. And in turn, a cat chuckles softly as he rests against me for a moment. I can't wait to play for you again. I miss it. Me too, buddy, me too. These last words are probably spoken more pessimistically than I would have liked, but I know this whole story won't end tomorrow. Nothing is that simple. I'll have to leave you. I've been invited to play for a nobleman this afternoon. I need to present myself properly. Oh, looks like someone is in demand. While giving the bird a slight elbow nudge, I wink at him, which makes me smile. On a more serious note, I'm glad you can fulfill your dream, cat. You deserve it. If only I could live this life as well. The bird seems to sense my sadness as his smiles become a little sadder. But I'll never be complete, but I'll never be complete without my. Don't be silly. You were already fantastic on the loot before you met me. You're perfectly capable of spreading your own wings. Without even warning me, a cat takes me in his arms and hugs me tightly, and warmth fills my heart as I nestle against him. We'll play together again, Birdie, I promise you. I hope so, and don't make me drag you by the scruff of your neck. I can't help but laugh as he talks to me like this. He must really worry about me to go that far. Message received. Eventually, this little moment of tenderness ends, and we smile silently at each other before I pat on the back. Go on, hurry. I don't want you to be late for your first private concert. He jumps up suddenly, as if he's just realized he needs to hurry. See you later. You bet. And suddenly, the falcon disappears from my sight, leaving me alone with my thoughts again. Although my mind can wait, it's time to make myself presentable. I'm not exactly sure how long it takes, but one thing is certain. I will now wash, brush, and dress properly. And at the same time, I mentally prepare myself to face Astrid's wrath. I put off this meeting for too long, and something tells me it's going to make my spy task even more difficult. Once I'm in the corridors, I only have a few turns to take before reaching the wing dedicated to the nobles, and it seems rather empty, which means they're either still sleeping or out partying in town. But there's no turning back. I have a date with Maelbjorn, and that can wait. Yet the prospect of having to wake up the noble doesn't thrill me, assuming she's even in her room. Lost in my thoughts, I pass each sub-wing dedicated to the different noble families until I reach Astrid's. And to my surprise, Tanak comes out of one of the corridors with a satisfied look on his face. Seeing me, his smile widens a bit more, and he waves at me. Well, my favorite royal bard. That's flattering, coming from my favorite ambassador from Kazal. The one and only. What are you doing here? Well, I thought I'd pay Astrid a visit. Let's avoid unnecessary details. I appreciate Tanak, but my mission requires a bit of discretion. Plus it concerns Foxfang. Certainly not Kazal. Well, what a happy coincidence. I just met her, by the way. She's in a favorable mood. If I may say so, no need to thank me for that. A favorable mood? I won't go in details on that matter, Bunny. Everyone has their secrets, don't they? With those words, he laughs before passing me and giving me a pat on the shoulder. Second door on the left. This interaction leaves me rather perplexed. Anyway, I better not think about it too much, otherwise my mind will come up with some crazy stuff again. So I knock on the door, and almost instantly it opens in front of me, leaving me face to face with a bulldog. As he stares at me, and before I have time to say anything, a quite recognizable questioning voice sounds from behind him. Who is it, Berthold? The royal bard, ma'am. There is a moment's silence as I smile awkwardly at the dog, who continues to look at me as neutrally as possible. Let him in. Yes, ma'am. The bulldog steps and invites me with a wave of his hand to enter the room, which I do without delay. The room looks richly decorated, but I don't really have time to observe it in detail as a poodle appears right in front of me. There's nothing in her eyes to suggest the joy Tanak was telling me about, but she doesn't look angry at her. You are dismissed for the day, Berthold. Thank you, ma'am. Good day to you. After bowing, the dog leads us along, and I can't help but clear my throat as we stand, face to face in a total silence that is slightly awkward. What are you doing here? Before you respond in an impertinent manner, please know that my tolerance is limited, and that my friendship with the ambassador is the only thread holding this conversation together. I thought this unpleasant situation was behind us, since I saw you defending me at the council, madam. Drop the usual conventions and stop being so formal with me. I think we've gone beyond that. With a sigh, the poodle settles into a sofa embroidered with golden threads, roughly pushing a stool in my direction with her paw. It's a bit of a blunt invitation, but I suppose it's a start, so I'll settle in, trying to find the right words. Yet it's not for lack of having prepared this conversation hundreds of times in my head, but sometimes the mind plays funny tricks on us. It made things a lot easier for me when the rumor of my ex-husband's frolicking spread. In that sense, I said thank you. But I could have done without the public humiliation the scandal has caused. This new interruption is starting to get on my nerves. I'm willing to apologize, but I'm not going to be pushed around. Can I get a word in, for fuck's sake? I think I came on a bit strong, considering the poodle is staring at me with squinted eyes. I'd like to apologize, there. I have no idea who your husband was, or that you were together, and believe me, I would have preferred to avoid the embarrassment too. But I think we both have bigger problems. Well, we'll agree on that. We both take the time to stare at each other. Something tells me that I'd rather control every expression and word I say, because we're playing on the same field. Is it these problems that bring you to me? I assume you're not just here to apologize. It was important to do so, but yes, that's not all I'm here for. While letting out a sigh, I repeat those words I prepared in the corner of my head, a ready-made excuse to try and amass answers to intentions. I'd like you to help me understand the old nobility's point of view on everything that's happening at the moment. Perhaps I could find a slightly clearer motive that would explain the attack on the Macadian caravan. What makes you think I have any desire or need to help you? The nobles may have their disagreements with the kingdom, but I doubt they are in total opposition. You must have some common goal with the kings, right? You should think long about that. The royalty is a thorn in the side of many Africans here. You haven't helped the situation. I can't help blinking as I ponder what's the problem here. You don't realize what you're doing, do you? Let's go to the chase, if you don't mind. Anyone with even the slightest interest in court life will have noticed that there have been changes in the prince. Besides, the guards talk a lot about your comings and goings in his quarters. In short, you are repeating the mistake you made with my previous husband, an obvious lack of discretion. What makes you think I'm trying to be discreet? Don't take this as a judgment, but it doesn't help the king's situation. And if they decide you're more trouble than you're worth, they won't hesitate to keep you away from their son. What exactly is the problem? The poodle makes no secret of the fact that she's relishing the moment as she sprawls out on her sofa, far more relaxed than usual. Well, first of all, you're a commoner originally, and that doesn't sit well with those who are born noble. Our people had a custom of staying with those of their ranks and never mixing with others. And see where that got you. Answer gives me an outward stare. It looks like I managed to stay in the right place. I know how you commoners see us, but our position is not completely undeserved. It was won in blood through centuries of warfare on behalf of Frostfang. You might as well say that the Civil War is just a transfer of power in our eyes. Obviously, mistakes were made, and some of us betrayed the principles of the kingdom, but the majority of us have fought for its good on both sides of this war. Her gaze seems to be lost in the emptiness behind me. I'm guessing the transition of power hasn't been the most pleasant for her family. However, she picks herself up with a long sigh. Unfortunately, it turns out that what is good for the kingdom is not interpreted in the same way by everyone. And what exactly is my role in the situation? You're the troublemaker. I like it. It's because you don't understand the implications. Your proximity to the prince is frowned upon by some of the nobility, and not just those who most openly oppose the kings. I imagine a cat has a point. The jealousy is already there. I just didn't realize it. Don't I have the right to a little privacy? Not within the walls of this castle, I'm afraid. And add to that the fact that you have a unique power that inevitably attracts a covetous the covetousness of some, and the fact that you and the prince get along so well, that doesn't ease anyone's mind. You put a major asset in the hands of the kings, and that asset can be used against their enemies. And their enemies aren't just the Macadians, are they? It all depends on what they want. But you saw what happened with Wales. Neither the kings nor their son would tolerate the slightest misstep for the nobility. I can feel myself relaxing even though this stool is really uncomfortable. I imagine it's due to the fact that we're deviating a little from the discussion around Maelbjorn life. I'm curious, by the way, how was that perceived? Wales' public punishment, I mean. It's a sensitive topic. Even the most moderate see it as an insult to the nobility, a spectacle that only serves to damage what little power we have left. Every word Astrid says seems extremely thought out and weighed at times. I have the impression that I'm listening to Maelbjorn. I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't shocked by the treatment of Boyas, but, well, let's just say there's pressure from all sides, and I'm doing my best to keep the situation under control. But the prince makes it difficult for you, I guess. The poodle merely smiles as he shrugs her shoulders, and that's more than enough to make me understand her opinion. I don't think our interests are very different when it comes to the prince. I better think carefully about what I can and can't say to her, especially on such a sensitive subject. He listens to me at times, and I can promise that I have no intention of encouraging him to take the path of violence. On the contrary, I think we gain more by calming the situation down. Easier said than done, not to mention the fact that some heads of household or seasoned politicians, they know exactly how to pull strings behind the scenes. What happened to Boyas was an insult and a humiliation, whether he deserved it or not, but it has been beneficial in the long run for those who want to overthrow power. Why not give the names of these leaders to the kings? Come on, Eric. We both know how this will end. Neither of us wants another civil war, but besides, it's part of the game. You have to keep up the facade, otherwise the castle collapses. We pretend to like each other while preparing to stab where it hurts, and everyone thinks they're getting closer to the throne while the real winner laughs at us. And who would that be, McCann? Oh, they certainly benefit from our animosity, but they're not the only ones. Khazal also plays this little game, and our smaller neighbors have their own profit to make from the whole situation too. McCann is mentioned so often that I'm almost surprised to hear the Empire of Khazal mentioned in such a conversation. I thought we were on good terms with Khazal. We are, but our dear neighbors are always more comfortable when we are busy killing each other rather than turning our gaze in their direction. On the surface, they do nothing to stand in our way, but some rebel lords have taken refuge there, and Khazal has no intention of stopping their operations. I think this is a good time to try to destabilize her. A little incineration will suffice for the moment. And despite that, you seem to have a good relationship with the ambassador. An almost imperceptible pucker appears for a moment at the corner of Astrid's lips, but she immediately pulls herself together. It just so happens that we have common goals, not to mention that his company is most pleasant. Some nobles are so by title only, but Ambassador Tanakh, on the other hand, is properly raised. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Besides, he has quite the charm. This time the poodle doesn't even try to hide the threat she conveys by glaring at me. If you make the same mistake a second time, I promise to hang you by the balls. How am I supposed to react if not by wincing at this sordid idea? I had no intention of doing so. Anyway, it's all yours. She instantly seemed to regain her good mood while letting out a small chuckle. Good. I guess I'll have to find another angle to stabilize her, because I value my physical integrity. So where do you stand in all this situation? If you can answer that, of course. Well, I serve the kingdom. It's ambiguous. The kingdom passes from hand to hand. Serving does not necessarily mean serving the kings. You should learn to accept ambiguous answers. They're equivocal for a reason. There's a change in the air. At first it's faint, but soon I can see condensation coming out of my mouth. It's cold. To be honest, I think you're too curious for your own good. What? That's when I see the ice spike that she suddenly forms next to her. Answer it, please. The poodle hurls it. I can hear it whistle past my ears, and then there's a thud behind me. Soft, I look at the poodle, and she gets up to open the door, her ice spear stuck in it. It looks like someone even more curious than you was listening. I stand up as well to observe the blood dripping from the tip of the spike to the floor. Unfortunately, the blood trails don't seem to go much further. How do you know there was someone behind the door? All I have to do is leave a thin layer of frost on the doorstep. I can see disturbances when someone steps on it, and it just so happens that this person has been standing there for a while without knocking. The question is who? It's not enough that I'm a spy. Now I'm being spied on. Can I help? No, I'd rather take care of that myself. But you can pass on my most sincere greetings to Maelbjorn. Strange, he didn't call him Prince either. I wonder if he understood that I was coming on his behalf. I may have shown a lack of subtlety this time. That said, I don't intend to let her keep the initiative. I would like to make sure that I'm informed of any progress on this matter. And you will be. Promise it. As she looks up at the ceiling with a long sigh. I promise. Perfect. See you soon, I hope. See you soon. While I'm still shaken by the idea that a particularly sharp spike of frost just missed my head and take off down the corridors without really knowing where I'm going. I don't feel I've learned much about Astrid from this exchange. At least nothing useful in my search for the traitor. I imagine that's precisely what she wanted, whether she is guilty or not. Ugh, I feel like this has been completely pointless. I'm definitely not cut out for this kind of gig. Come on, Eric. You've got to pull yourself together. At least now you know you've got someone's attention. Or maybe the spy was there for Astrid. Either way, it adds another layer to the thickness that surrounds this mystery. I'm afraid I don't have much to bring back to Maelbjorn, but in any case, there's no way we're going to talk about it. Not today, anyway. So I head for his office to find him there as usual without Gilliant to escort him, fortunately. That's me, the best rapper in the kingdom, ready for our little escapade. Even now, when we have an appointment, the prince has his nose buried in his papers. So he raises his gaze and blinks before rubbing his face. Or, sorry, I got caught up in my work. My enthusiasm drops. He wouldn't dare to. We're still going out, I hope. His smile rekindles my hope as he winks at me while putting his paperwork away. Of course, I'm an Anthrokin on my word. Don't you dare doubt it. You scared me, you idiot. I know how to make myself desired, that's all. Well, more seriously, you have to wait for me outside the castle near the moat. I have to get ready so that no one sees me leave. Will it take long? No, I've already prepared everything beforehand. I only need to get dressed. Alright, I'll wait for you then, but you better get here soon, and I'm going to have a party without you. I blow him a kiss in the air before turning around as secretly as I can, and I hear his laughter ring out behind me. You can laugh, big guy, but I intend to keep my word. Once outside, I enjoy the fresh air beating against my face. I think I spend far too much time indoors, and mere puffs of air fill me with euphoria. Well, it's almost the prospect of going out with Maelbjorn that does that to me, even though I have a fear that that's starting to knot my stomach. What if it doesn't go well? With all this talk of assassination attempts and my avatar problems. I hope I'm not putting him at any unnecessary risk, and me neither, for that matter. Why the fuck am I thinking about this? It's like I'm trying to ruin my own evening. Once outside, I enjoyed the fresh air beating against my face. I think I spent far too much time indoors. A mere pulse of air filled me with euphoria. Well, it's mostly the prospect of going out with Maelbjorn that does that to me, even though I have a fear that started to knot my stomach. What if it doesn't go well? With all this talk of assassination attempts and my avatar problems, I hope I'm not putting him at an unnecessary risk, and me neither, for that matter. Why the fuck am I thinking about this? It's like I'm trying to ruin my own evening. As I ruminate on all the troubles that could potentially await us along the way, I arrive at my destination and sit down on the hewn stone ledges not far from the road. At the same time, I do my utmost to avoid looking at the moat, otherwise the pennant of the void will sweep me away instantly. I feel like I'm spending an eternity here before a carriage pulls out of the castle before stopping in front of me. The driver stands up and knocks 3 times on a large case, which then opens to reveal a tall figure wearing a cloak. Is that? Yes, I do believe it's Maelbjorn, stepping out of the carriage before it drives off again as if nothing had happened. I told you I had a plan. I'm trying hard to stop myself from giggling as I see him under his huge cloak that looks more like a big canvas you put over a wagon. Perfect. Now I'm struggling. Perfect. Now I'm smuggling a prince. Let's add that to the list of actions that will definitely lead me to a diplomatic incident. I'd like to remind you that you're the one who wanted to be irresponsible, so you might as well be irresponsible all the way. Now, where do you want to go? Let's go and see the festivities, and we'll decide there what to do next. Without waiting, I take the lead with a cheerful step, and the bear follows me closely. Fortunately, under his cape, there's little chance of anyone recognizing him. I can also feel in his gait that he's not wearing his armor. I think that's a first. So, were you able to gather any information about? Come on, that's not why we're here. Forget all your responsibilities just for a moment. You're Maelbjorn, my charming companion, and I am Eric, the most fabulous rabbit in Frostfang. There's no exaggeration here. Absolutely none. The silence falls again for a moment, but Maelbjorn finally smiles at me as he walks beside me. You know, there was a time when I was allowed to walk through the streets of the city during the festivities in my honor, so I'm happy to be able to share this occasion with you today. It's a sad feeling. I can't imagine being with anyone else tonight. It's you and me against the world if we have to. I love you, Bolt, but don't ask me to fight the whole world. I'm afraid I'm not strong enough for that. I hear him laugh, and immediately afterwards he squeezes my hand in his, whereupon I take particular pleasure in closing my fingers around his. But I tend to be by your side through thick and thin, if that makes you feel any better. Don't start so strongly. You're going to make me fall at your paws right from the start of our little date. And I intend to give it my all. At first I'm a bit worried that passers-by might recognize Maelbjorn, but it's clear that no one is paying any particular attention to him. However, I do get a few glances, sometimes apprehensive, sometimes admiring, and it doesn't seem to escape the prince. It looks like your soul has had its effect. They're less scared, I think. You know that with your position as a royal bard, you will become a role model for them sooner or later. Me, a role model? Not that I don't like it, but believe me, you don't want me to become an example for them. It would lead the kingdom straight into chaos. You might be laughing, but I'm only half joking. I don't think there's anything you can do about it. The story of the rabbit who rose from the streets to become royal bard is bound to resonate with the people. Yeah, I still have this feeling that I've been lucky to get where I am. Well, if you leave out my plan, it's still hard for me to believe that I deserve this place, even if I do everything I can. Even if I do everything I can to convince myself that I do. You know, when I was in the stands when you sang, I saw them smiling and singing along before you even used your powers. It was your singing and the kids' music that drove them and that inspired them. It's impossible for me not to smile when I hear that. It's both reassuring and cute of Maelbjorn to have had the presence of mind to observe the audience reactions during the show. Anyway, I don't think I'm the kind of role model Frostfang is looking for. But maybe you are the role model we all need. If you keep this up, I'm really going to believe you're messing with me. This time I laugh first, then he joins in. You know, I had my fears about this whole idea, but I had to admit that you make everything easier. That's probably thanks to my incredible charm. I know you like to joke about your qualities, but I really think you have something that I rarely see in others. It's just, it's hard to explain. Maybe your compliments go straight to my heart, even if I fight not to let it show too much. I don't know if it's a general distrust instinct, but I've always found it hard to accept compliments as well, as if I didn't believe them myself. Thank you, but you're more than worthy of me. I know without a doubt that if suddenly you were no longer a prince, I would still find you just as engaging. Even though we're giving each other these kinds of compliments before, I feel like it's important to repeat them, as if that's what it takes for us to believe them. And thanks to all the time we spent indulging in these other sweet words, we reached the city center without even realizing it. Even though a lot of people are too drunk to care that I'm present, I'm starting to think that I should have grabbed a hooded cloak as well. After all, drawing attention to me is also drawing attention to Maelbjorn. In other words, exactly the opposite of what we want. And when I look at him, I see that under his cape, he clearly shares my concern. Are you alright? There are more people that I remember, that's all. You can always go back to the castle if you prefer. If it's not pleasant for you, it won't be for me either. He offers me a smile, clearly trying to reassure me. Don't worry, Eric. Your presence makes it pleasant anyway. I don't think there'd be so much softness under all our armor, and I'm certainly not going to complain about it. So it's worth a belly full of butterflies that I will turn the prince's smile while pulling him by the hand to lead him a little deeper into the crowd. Eventually, we come to a square where a band is performing a country tune that's both joyful and catchy. Let's dance, you and me. Dancing, but without even giving him time to protest, I start shimmying around trying to twirl in place in the prince. And I insist on the word twine because I certainly don't have the strength to spin a bear at arm's length. That said, Maelbjorn joins me very quickly. I can see his smile peeking out from under his hood. You see, you don't need to know how to dance, you just have to know how to make fun. How fun. It's a bit dizzying. This little moment of happiness takes me back to the dance that the person I shared during the Bard's Festival. Obviously, this time there's a certain closeness that doesn't exist in. I end up pressing myself against him and he takes me in his arms, laughing as we do our best to remain standing. That's the idea, darling. That way you're always close to the one you love. As his only reply, the prince leans down and kisses me with the tip of his lips, but I don't intend to stop just yet. So I wrap my arms around his hood to keep him in front of me, then push my tongue between his lips while tilting my muzzle to offer him something a little more straightforward. And it looks like the bear isn't against the idea. Oh, I think he's even. Suddenly I find myself with Maelbjorn's enormous tongue in my mouth and struggling not to choke on it. Once it's under control, I have to say it's quite enjoyable, mild but pleasant. And I surrender to the lingering kiss with a heavy sigh, my eyes closed and my mind far away from any worries. As we pull away, the bear winks at me, and this time it's he who leads me into a twirling dance that I can't help but laugh intoxicated with bliss. And that's when the brim of the prince's hood catches on a passerby's stick, lifting it instantly. It takes barely a few seconds for the cries of surprise to echo through the crowd. It's a prince! Oh no. Maelbjorn stops and looks around, clearly petrified at the thought of having his identity suddenly revealed. I must do something. It's a perfect time to put my oratory skills to good use. As I look around, I see a crate which I immediately jump on to gain height. The prince is looking at me with wide eyes, but if all goes to plan, I should be able to turn the situation in his favor. People of Frostfang, Prince Maelbjorn graces you today with his presence to share the happiness we all feel at this wonderful event. Faces begin to light up as I try to look each person in the eye to get their full attention. Along the monarchs of the past, our good prince would like to show that he is listening and close to you, in the good moments as well as the difficult ones. This time, attention turns back to the bear, who seems a little more at ease now, to the point of smiling at those facing him. And one after another, each onlooker approaches to shake his hand. I heard you kid that no one's ours. It's nice to see someone dare to give them a proper scolding for once. I only did my duty. Thank you for being here, my prince. We're glad to see you. I'm happy to be at your side, too. I hope to become the king you all expect me to be. You're the first to come down from that mountain. Can't complain about that. It's true that I'd like to be in town more often. Unfortunately, duty calls too frequently for that to be possible. Could you please adjust the price a week? I promise to discuss it with my fathers and get back to you as soon as possible. Very quickly, Maelbjorn started with compliments and grievances, but he seems to adapt to this element with surprising ease. As for me, well, I just watched him with a grin on my face, and happy to see him come into his own little by little, and even happier to be part of his journey to kingdom. Eventually, the crowd lets the prince slip away to join me, and I wink at him. He smiles sadly at me before pulling his hood up over his head. Something tells me you and I better find somewhere more discreet. I wouldn't say no to that. Do you have anything specific in mind? I'm sure we'll find a nice little inn somewhere. After heading off in the opposite direction to the market, we eventually find a relatively sparsely populated inn. I guess we're too far from the festivities for people to want to drink here, which suits me just fine. The innkeeper Walrus, dressed in a simple tunic, waves us over where he sees us enter. Have a seat at the table. I'll do the offering. Alright, it'll be a temple beer for me. As I nod, I take my way to the beer. I make my way to the bar to find myself face to face with the owner of the inn, who smiles warmly at me. Now that I'm face to face with him, I notice that patterns have been carved into his tusk, and I'm pretty sure I've seen this somewhere before. What can I give you? What can I do for you, sir? My friend and I would like a temple beer, please. Right away. As he turns to grab some mugs, I allow myself to start a discussion, now knowing full well who I'm talking to. You were a sailor, weren't you? I was able to talk to some guys who wore this kind of pattern as tattoos on the coast north of Caragredo. A sailor, exactly. He gives me a knowing look as he turns around as I smile, and I smile back at him. We both know he wasn't just any kind of sailor. Thanks for the beer. I put the coins on the counter and then grab the mugs full to the brim with beer before walking away, humming contentedly. As it says should spells any misplaced curiosity on the part of our host, there's nothing like mutual understanding guaranteed by the possibility of a secret being revealed. As I set his ale down in front of Maelbjorn, I settled in with a charming wink. Have you been waiting for me, handsome? The prince chuckled before taking his drink and raising it in my direction. Let's toast. For that, you have to toast to something. How about we do it in celebration if it was supposed to be, After all, that's why we're here, you and me. Perfect. Here's your responsibility. And we clink our mugs before taking a drink, both of us visibly enjoying this intimate little moment. That said, I don't even need to drink to feel a certain warmth sweep through my body. I like to go further with the prince. So I slide one leg under the table to rub it against the beer. Oh, sorry, I think I'm taking up a bit of space under there. He immediately withdraws his leg, at which point I can't help but sigh as I realize that he has completely misunderstood my gesture. That's when I slide as far out of my chair as I can before placing my paw directly against his crotch, which makes him jump immediately. For a few seconds he looks at me, I look at him, we look at each other, and in short, it's a bit of an awkward moment. Eric, please don't tell me you don't understand this. I get the impression that the prince is blushing so hard that I can perceive it despite his fur. For once I can touch you directly and not your armor, so I'm going to enjoy it to the full, if you know what I mean. Here, now? Why not? That's a bit irresponsible, exactly. That's a good point. I'm not asking you to be logical. Listen to your instincts. What do you feel like? I mean, without thinking about the repercussions or the rules of decency, what do you want deep down? If it were up to me, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. These few words are enough to make me realize that I can push things a little further. So I squeeze my paw and play my pads against Maelbjorn's bulge, which has the immediate effect of making him hard. Then I straighten up, giving him a playful look while drinking my beer as if nothing had happened. Unfortunately for you, we have to leave it at that for now. Given the feverish look on the bear's face, something tells me he's planning to play along. Are you really going to leave me hanging? Maybe so. It would be frustrating, wouldn't it? But maybe that's what a prince who's entitled to everything needs, a little frustration. While giving him a mocking wink, I lean against the table before resting my head on my hands to better taunt him. What are you going to do about it, anyway? And in turn, the bear leans in, so close that his warm breath crashes against my face. Maybe you deserve a trip to the dungeons. Maybe, but you're not the prince here. You're a complete stranger on the street, and the street is my turf. He sneers and grabs me by the chin while looking into my eyes, and I have no problem letting him handle me that way. In that case, show me what you desire, and I will take part with great pleasure. It seems that what I thought was silence was not. I think he was just trying to be polite, but something tells me I awakened something in him by teasing him. It looks like we found common ground. Now we need a room. He releases me immediately and nods before placing his hands on his crotch with a grunt. If you could, make it quick. That would be convenient for me. But of course, my prince, I have to admit that I don't really want to prolong my seduction any longer. Let's get down to business. While trying to keep calm, I stand up to go to the counter. Fortunately, the Wallace isn't very busy tonight, as he arrives immediately after finishing cleaning a tankard. Another drink? Not this time, thank you. I'd like to order a bedroom. The Wallace quickly glares at Maelbjorn before settling on me again. King-size bed, I take it? A simple one will do. He puts a key in front of me and chuckles before going back to clean his utensils. It's upstairs. Take a last door on the left. Enjoy yourselves. Always a pleasure to know that we're still so lacking in discretion, but I had it coming, I suppose. As I join Maelbjorn, I see that he has emptied his tankard, and I certainly won't have the opportunity to do the same. I think my disappointment is visible as the bear rises, taking me by the hand. You can have as much beer as you like once we get home, I promise. You say that like I'm an alcoholic. That's a lot of booze for such a small body, that's all. He chuckles and I can't help but give him a little nudge on the shoulder before guiding him towards the bedroom myself. What to do? Yes, gotta skip it. We remain close to each other for a moment, sharing tender kisses on the neck and lips without going any further. I must admit to being charmed by the gentleness the prince displays despite the obvious physical difference between us. But I have rarely been treated with such politeness by someone who desired to fuck me so much. As we are busy cuddling after this particularly intimate moment, the bear smiles sadly at me while stroking my face. I'm afraid we'll have to go back to the castle. They'll start to worry if we don't. Even if he's right, it's so painful to hear. But we can't afford to be continually irresponsible, even less so than I. After paying the innkeeper for the room, we go out into the street a little more deserted than when we arrived. Daylight begins to fall, and my heart sinks at the thought that I may have to spend the rest of the evening alone. But another part of my mind is full of glee, considering the unique time I was able to spend with Maelbjorn. I'll walk back to the castle entrance, which goes smoothly, although I notice that the prince looks pensive. I imagine he's as sorry as I am that it's all over already, but I don't dare ask him for fear of ruining his day. Yet once in front of the wagon that drove him out on the castle grounds, it is with a strange mixture of amusement and sorrow that I watch the prince step into the box in order to sneak back inside. His smile is the last thing I see before he disappears, and I stand there for a moment just remembering that fleeting instant. How I wish I could spend my time reliving those moments of carefree happiness, but the gods have a different plan for you, it seems, Eric. With these thoughts, I enter the gates and climb the steps that lead me inside the castle. Just as I'm about to go to my quarters, I nearly crash into the panther and armor standing in front of me. Gilead, you have an uncanny tendency to be in the middle of the training corridor every time we meet. My joke doesn't seem to land as the feline looks at me with a stern expression and crosses his arms. Follow me. I was going to have a rest, so there's like a growl in the panther's voice as he cuts me off. I won't say it again. Oh no, I certainly won't be pushed around this time. I really need some peace and quiet, Gilead. Perhaps you'd rather we discuss your little escapade in the middle of the corridor. Well, maybe I'll have to let myself be pushed around this time. Alright, I'm right behind you. No need to make a stove of it. As he leads me through the castle, I realize that the captain is leading me to the training room. The journey is spent in complete silence, but something in Gilead's gait tells me he didn't appreciate my escapade with Maelbjorn. Once in front of the room, he opens the door immediately, invites me in with a simple authoritative look without having to say a single word to make himself understood. I feel like a kid who's about to be lectured. What do you want from me? The kings are worried about their son. What, they're afraid he's going to grow up? They need to learn to let go. Plus, how do you know what happened? You weren't exactly discreet. I growl in Gilead's voice. The growl in Gilead's voice intensifies. I believe I'm already irritating him. As for the king's concern, it's justified, and you know it. Our enemies are after you too. That's completely irresponsible, I know. That was the whole point. Maelbjorn is a living being. He doesn't exist simply to fulfill his responsibilities. Well, this time it's me who's raising my voice. I'm tired of being bossed around. You want to make him the best king you can? Let him discover his people. That's not for you or me to decide. His fathers, the kings, would like to avoid any unfortunate situation. That's all you need to know. What if I don't give a shit what the kings say? Judging by the outraged expression on the panther's face, I think I might have gone a bit too far. Are you planning to be kept away from the prince because that's the best way to be? Listen, Gilead. No, you're the one who's going to listen to me. Your little escapades must end here for both your sakes. I sigh. Then we look at each other with neither of us seeming to want to wage this silent duel. You know, before I came here, you were the closest thing Maelbjorn had to a friend. He told me so himself. I'm sure you've seen that this constant urge he has to prove himself to others is eating away at him. So as a friend, and not as a bodyguard, you should understand what I'm doing. I can't afford to think as a friend, not while I'm acting under the orders of the kings. My word is worth nothing if I'm unable to fulfill my duty to them. See, you've got your head full of these so-called responsibilities too. If the kings don't want to admit that there's a problem, then screw them. We're being crushed by the constant weight they place on our shoulders. Do you think it's easy for me to go from bar to war machine? For fuck's sake, I'm not a fighter, let alone a living legend like you. And it's easy with the brand you got to worry about nothing. You're untouchable. You're a born warrior. I'm not. This time it's the captain's whole body that's shaking as he seems to be trying to contain himself. Do you really think you're the only one who's had problems with your brand? Do you think that's going to justify all your actions no matter how stupid? Do you really want to see what it looks like to be untouchable? He's coming at me with all his fervor, and the only eye that still works as if he's about to kill me. So I step back, but I maintain his gaze. I'm not going to be intimidated. In a move that surprises me, he runs a hand over the straps holding his mask and unties them before pulling it off to expose his partially burnt face. Then he grabs hold of his false eye and pulls it out, exposing his empty orbit. When Gillian speaks, his voice trembles, then he suddenly thunders, which startles me. Do I look like a legend to you? Is this fucking brand really worth it? Now that you see its cost. I have no adequate word, only a feeling of sorrow mixed with surprise and horror to see him so disfigured. Fear tantanizes my muscles as I try to support the panther's twisted stare. No, I shouldn't be afraid of him. He's not a monster, he's just broken. I'm sorry, Gillian. I didn't know. Clearly he wasn't expecting an apology, so he seems to be caught off guard for a moment. Then silently the captain turns his back to me and takes a long breath. Something in his voice tells me that he has mostly calmed down, if only temporarily. Now you know. Act accordingly. I just wanted to scare you. And you totally failed. Sure. Another reincarnation of King Abelus. You're in surprisingly good health, Abelus. The feline growls profusely, and I understand he's at the end of his capabilities when it comes to putting up with me. Understood, it's time for me to take my leave. I then bow exaggerately to Gillian before skipping off with a laugh, leaving the jaded captain behind. An astonishing sense of pride fills my mind as I realize that I have stood up to him, and at the same time I rejoice that I have broken through his defenses. However, it's been a grueling day, and although it's not quite dark yet, I figure I'd better take a nap for a while before I'm needed again for some perilous mission. To be continued. Hello everyone. We hope you enjoyed this chapter. If you want more information about NeveN, feel free to follow us on Twitter. We also have a Discord allowing you to chat among community members. Finally, if you would like to support our project, we also have a Patreon that offers you a series of benefits such as builds 2 weeks in advance, but also unique stories about the characters of NeveN. If you like the VN, please also feel free to rate us on Itch.io. It will help us a lot. Once again, a big thanks to all of you, and see you soon. Alright, so we got to see Eric and Maelbjorn go out into the city, and that might not have been a good idea. I mean, I understand why Eric did that for Maelbjorn. He wants him to open up some and just go out to the city and be more relatable to the people and just see the people, which I understand, but maybe it is a good idea, but at the same time, there are threats out there. There are people who are trying to assassinate Maelbjorn, and plus he might draw the wrath of the kings, and as well as Gilead. So that's something Eric should also sort of considered. But I'm happy that Maelbjorn enjoyed himself, and they got a lot closer together. And the poodle noble Astrid said that there are nobles who do not like Eric getting so close with the prince. Him being common and all that. And he could make things difficult for the kings to the point where they might keep him away from Maelbjorn. And while Astrid and Kertzroot seem to be willing to forgive Eric and move on, in this part here, in Maelbjorn's rules, is not quite as forgiving of Eric. So that was a big difference in that scene with Astrid. And we got to learn more about Gilead, about his past life, and we got to see the reason why he has that helmet over his face, and his face is disfigured because some gladiators apparently did not like. Well, in McCad, he was a gladiator who was one of the best fighters, and he got preferential treatment over the other gladiators in McCad, and so the other gladiators did not like that, so they poured some oil on his face and set him on fire. Fortunately, it didn't kill him, but it left half his face I've got the word, anyway, it burned off half his face, because some gladiators were jealous of him getting preferential treatment from their master. And he was born to slavery. Well, he wasn't born, but he was put into slavery at an early age. And his parents were taken to slavery too. He was born at the border where he was born in Kazal, but he was born near the border where Kazal, Frostfang, and McCad meet. And apparently some slavers, I guess from McCad, came to Kazal and enslaved him and his family. So you got a lot of people who were enslaved who have since fled to Frostfang. This kingdom, Frostfang, is a haven for people escaping slavery from McCad. And that has made relationships between Frostfang and McCad frosty, but certainly Frostfang is doing the right thing by assisting escaped slaves. It may not necessarily be the right thing diplomatically, but morally and in terms of responsibility, it's the right thing to do. So that's what I really like about McCad. Frostfang. There's a loud car going by. So that's the thing I like about Frostfang, giving, accepting slaves and allowing them to have opportunities and to prove themselves, things that they would not have been able to do in McCad, a slave empire. So that's all for now. For NeveN, thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.